Welcome to APMG Sustainability Talks. I'm Chiara Mainolfi, and I'm delighted to be joined today by Richard Pharro. Richard Pharro is the CEO of APMG International. Welcome, Richard.
Hello, Chiara.
When it comes to business, a new green mantra states that the only strategy worth following is that of sustainability. So today's goal is to go a little deeper into this statement with Richard Pharro and provide some advice to managers interested in developing their own sustainability strategies. But let us first start with the concept. Sustainability. I'm not sure that most people are able to define the meaning of this term. Please, Richard, can you give us your definition?
Well, Chiara, I suppose my definition of sustainability is probably not mainstream. Most of the conversations on sustainability recently have been around global warming, energy security, and depleting resources. I actually think a much clearer, more understandable definition of sustainability relates to survival. So if you think about it in business, about 60% of new businesses fail within the first few years. Those that survive are sustainable. They're sustainable because they found ways to overcome the normal challenges of financial constraint, competition, operational difficulties, and of course they had the right product. So in my mind, sustainability equals survival. And that can be applied to any situation and any scale. An individual, a business, or a country can think about what is it that we need to do to be sustainable, i.e., what is it that we need to do to survive in the current market?
But Richard, how do you use sustainability strategies to make APMG, your company, better? How do you use them to enhance innovation if it's possible? And how do you even begin to think about it?
Well, I suppose that it's very simplest. It relates to reducing inefficiencies through process improvement, through automation, using approaches such as Lean Six Sigma, where you try to reduce waste. We do look at physical things and what we use, what we reuse, and what we recycle. And at times this can be quite difficult. We've upgraded our computer systems fairly recently. We have a lot of old monitors in the office. We can't find anyone that wants to take them away. We can't find a commercial organization that will take them. We can't find a not-for-profit, a charity that will reuse them. They're likely to go to a recycling company where they'll strip out the valuable pieces and send the rest to tip. We have considered our carbon footprint. And if I reflect on what we used to do before COVID, we used to travel to a lot of events. We used to travel to a lot of meetings. We would fly into a country for a 30-minute presentation at a conference. These days, all of those things are held online. My personal carbon footprint is probably a fraction now than it was before COVID. I would go to a lot of conferences, and I think this applies to a lot of organizations. Many of us will go to a physical event. Very rarely could we actually prove a return on investment. The basic economic proposition within a business is to make a profit. We could never show a profit for attending events. Once you've taken into account travel, subsistence, accommodation, the stands, the marketing collateral, most of our events are now online. Most of our attendance is online. We do attend a few physical events, but they are very few. We spent a lot of effort on innovating, especially moving all of our systems online, our processes online. Many, many years ago, our business is about exams, and they were essays on paper. They required an extraordinary amount of paper and distribution to various locations, whether it was a training room, whether it's to examiners, whether it's to other examiners to cross-check. At that time, we developed what we call a complex multiple-choice exam paper, so the exam could be taken online. We reduced the number of examiners from about 40 to about 5. We reduced the operations team from about 25 people to about 5 people, and our couriers and paper use went down by about 85%. Huge savings. Not only did we have financial savings, but our service improved dramatically. we could provide exam results in a matter of hours rather than a matter of days. But I don't think we arrived at that innovation through a question of sustainability. Yeah, I think we got there as a pragmatic business solution to a problem that we had. So in my view, unless you're solving a real business need, then I don't think whatever you're going to do will be embedded in the organization. So, business need, innovation, sustainability, in that order.
But I think that all of this requires a cultural change. But cultural change is an almost impossible task for many organizations. What do you think about it?
I agree. Yeah, I agree that I think cultural change is virtually an impossible task. But I think the culture of APMG, I think I'm very lucky in APMG because I believe the culture stems from employees, not from the board. I don't think you can impose culture. And it goes back to the very first people that I employed. And I was very lucky, I think, that the appointment of, certainly the very first employee in APMG that's still with me after 30 years, was someone who was on the considerate, compassionate and collaborative end of the management scale, rather than the just do what I tell you and get on with it or move on end of the scale. From there, every person that we recruited came into an organization that had those characteristics, and they were employed because they would fit in. They saw that we had a certain way of doing things, that our culture was one of openness, transparency, reasonableness, and equality. So for instance, when I used to go to various events around the world, anyone that travelled to that event, no matter what their position in the company, all flew in the same class on the airline. We either all went economy or we all went business. We always stayed in the event hotel. So there was no differentiation between me as a CEO, somebody in the marketing department, somebody who was on product development. When we got together to think about company values, at the time the company was about 20 people, we all went away for a couple of days and we developed our value statements. But everybody had an equal say. But of course, over the time, the organization grows. More people get involved in that recruitment process. Some of those values are diluted. In places you realize that not everybody adheres to the values, to the culture of the organization. Some people pay lip service to it, but it's not really embedded. Now, to change that is a huge task. To change that is a very painful task. And you can only do it if the organization agrees. So we're going through a transformational change at the moment. And there's a team of 10 managers across the business who are meeting just by themselves to discuss some of the challenges the organization faces, some of the friction issues the organization faces. What is it that we need to change? Now, the board can make those decisions. But if we allow those managers to come up with those recommendations and for those recommendations to be introduced into the organization, then the body of the organization is driving that cultural change. The body of the organization is saying, this is how we want to be. This is how we want the organization to be seen. And then that will be embedded, and I believe that will survive. So it's about, can you get the people in the organization to set the culture, to own the culture, and to move that culture forward?
So, Richard, you are the CEO of an examination institute and accreditation body. But how does APMG focus on and support people? And how much do you help people, professionals, students, and also companies in their sustainability strategy? Is this possible just with the certification?
No. It's not possible just with a certification. Certifications are about knowledge, they're about the application of some techniques, and hopefully it gives you some knowledge, it gives you some understanding, but more importantly, it gives you the confidence to apply those things. And I don't think certifications enable change. Behavior does. Yeah. So I don't think sustainability strategies or survival strategies, using my phrase, are any different to any other corporate initiative. Yeah. And all businesses struggle to identify, define, and execute the right projects or the right initiatives. Yeah. There isn't a silver bullet for sustainability. In my view, they're another project. They need to be clearly defined. There needs to be clear goals, given the appropriate resources, the appropriate tools, the work executed, and then rolled out into the organization. We have lots of products focused on execution, focused on project management, program management, change management, and the various techniques that go around supporting that. Yeah, we have one product that focused on sustainability, which is the Climate Resilience Infrastructure Officer, CIRO, which we developed on behalf of the Global Center of Adaptation, which is an organization supported by the World Bank and various other international development banks. Yeah, and that is aimed at how do you look at sustainability when you're delivering public-private partnership projects, you're delivering major infrastructure projects in various parts of the world. So we have that product, but it is the only product we have in the portfolio at the moment. Now, we are working on another project. We're working with a group of organizations in Italy. And this group is struggling with this question of how do we build sustainability into our projects?
Yeah.
Now, I don't think the solution is going to be a new set of tools or techniques. I think it's going to be, how do I answer the question, how will this project support our organization's sustainability? How will this project help us develop and evolve into the future? And for this to succeed, though, I think what organizations really need is to encourage all of their staff to have a flexible, creative, and open, curious mindset. With that approach, which I believe are personal characteristics that you develop through learning and experience, then I believe organizations can thrive, develop sustainability strategies, be sustainable, and survive over the longer term.
Many thanks, Richard.
Thank you, Chiara.